But then we begin to empty into the trunks. So we're going to see there are 6. They're named after the area of the body they drain. This is how it's referred to. This trunk drains this area of the body. We have our jugular, we have our subclavian, we have our bronchomediastinal, we have our intercostal, we have intestinal, and then our lumbar. So, if you look throughout this trunk region of the body, we see numerous lymph nodes. You may hear a person, like a female, say, I had my breast removed due to breast cancer, and they removed 17 lymph nodes. And what they're meaning is, in this axillary area of the body, which is close to the breast, these are usually at least biopsied when a woman has a mastectomy. And if they find, because they do this while the woman is still under anesthesia, and if they find that that one particular lymph node showed cancer cells, they will remove the surrounding lymph nodes, because they know what happens if the cancer cells are in those lymph nodes. So those lymphatic trunks, they converge, they meet, they come to my 2 collecting ducts. On the right, okay, see how they tried to show the differences in the shading? That's the right. Everything else on the body is considered the left. I know. It just is like, huh? What? But okay, I'm good with that as long as they're functioning, as long as they're working. Okay? So, I have my right lymphatic duct. This is from a convergence of my right jugular, subclavian, and bronchomediastinal trunks. On the left, which is larger, longer, pretty much everything else empties into it. Now, that means my 2 lumbars, my intestinal, they got to do something else, okay? Because that's a huge area. You think about lumbar. I mean, we're looking at a huge portion of tissues having to be taken care of, okay? So they come to a place that's very prominent called the cisternal chili. They were invented that day, okay? But what that's allowing for, it's allowing for emptying of a huge amount of fluid into one area, and then beginning its trek to the duct. So it's going through the diaphragm, it's getting additional lymph from the left side before it actually gets to empty into my subclavian vein. So my left and my right subclavian vein are going to empty into the right atria. They're going to empty into the superior vena cava and go to the right side of the heart. Does that pathway make sense? All right, it's a lot of fluid that's getting picked up, believe it or not. So our cells that we're going to find, Do you guys remember any of these when we were talking about blood and production of like those red cells, white cells, all those colony forming units? Do you guys remember that? Okay. Natural killer cells. They're kind of cool. Okay. They are very large lymphocytes, and they're ones that have become infected with a virus or have turned cancerous. Did you happen to know that a lot of cancers are caused by a virus? Natural killer cells work very hard to destroy that. And they destroy a lot more cancerous cells than we know, than we even think about in our bodies. Our T cells are going to be present. Now remember, for the most part, your T cells were formed early in life, by the time you're probably in your teens. So the majority of those T cells got formed and migrated to a lymph node and literally are just sitting there waiting, because they're waiting. Like, for example, vaccinations. When you're vaccinated, the goal is to build up immunity to whatever they vaccinated you against. For example, polio. Okay? So hopefully those T cells got active. You got past that polio vaccine, and now the memory cells are sitting there. And if they see anything come back that looks like the polio, it's done. It can't make you sick. That's the goal of the vaccines. As you go on about life, because, you know, as children, I mean, and getting exposed to everything, I mean, think about everything they get exposed to at school. Woo, okay? And daycare centers and all this sort of stuff. And hopefully they're building up immunity. They'll get sick, but then hopefully they won't get sick with that same virus again. All right? So these T cells are very important. B cells. When a T cell gets activated, B cells do a lot of the work. So B cells, they are lymphocytes that when the T cell needs them, they'll differentiate into plasma cells, the point where that lymph node is swelling. Because what it's doing is those B cells are duplicating in number to go fight the foreign particle. That's what they're doing. And the lymph nodes swell from the creation, making of those B cells. These are in the bone marrow, therefore being the B cells. So if the body needs more, they simply make more. But T cells, no, the older we get, the less that happens. The reason that as people get older, they can have the tendency to be more susceptible to things that will make them sick. Because their cells, first of all, they may not have been exposed to something to build an immunity. And then if they do get exposed, chances of them getting sick are greater, because the thymus gland is much more involuted and small. Macrophages, these are large cells. They're phagocytic, meaning they eat, and usually they like to hang out in connective tissue. Where do I find connective tissue in my body? Everywhere. These cells simply, they develop from the monocytes in the bloodstream. They can simply migrate out, roam around in the connective tissue. If they encounter something in that connective tissue, they will try to eat it. if they can't eat enough of what's trying to invade that tissue, they simply go, okay, I need some help. And they'll take whatever that antigen, that foreign matter, okay, whatever they engulfed, because they got liposomes, they're breaking it up, okay, they'll simply take a piece of that foreign matter, push it through their plasma membrane, and they will then make their way to a lymph node. And they'll go to that lymph node and they will present that foreign matter to a T cell. And the T cell will go, okay, I'm going to come help. And the T cell will get activated, which is going to most likely call up B cells, which will have the ability to fight that foreign substance. And the B cells will make their way to the area of the body that was invaded and hopefully fight that battle and win that war. So our macrophages are also called antigen-presenting cells because they can present that foreign matter to a T cell and a lymph node. We're going to find dendritic cells. These are branched, these are mobile antigen-presenting cells, the APCs, and these are found in my epidermis, my skin, which is our first line of defense. Our skin in the immune system is our first line of defense. We have 3, and the skin is the first. Okay? We're going to find them in our mucous membranes because any opening to our exterior environment from our body is lined with a mucous membrane. And then lymph organs, i.e. spleen, lymph nodes. These cells have the ability to alert my immune system to anything that's breached it, to pathogens. It's because they have made it through a body surface. My first line of defense. These are very important. Something as simple as just a paper cut can kill you. But because of these cells, it doesn't. They are so important. They engulf the foreign material, but it's done by receptor-mediated endocytosis. On their plasma membrane, they have receptors. The foreign matter can fit into that receptor. Once the receptors are full, it simply takes that membrane, pulls it in, and kills all of those little foreign particles. That's kind of cool. Okay? They can migrate to a nearby lymph node and activate my immune response. All of this right here is not my immune response. It's lines of defense for immunity. But my immune response does not happen until a T cell is activated. That is a true